So how are the Singapore banks, DBS, UOB and OCBC doing, as we head into the end of 2022 and maybe into 2023? Is it bullish going forward into next year? Hey guys, Joey here, top tier advisor, trader in Philips Securities, and in this video, we'll be looking at these three banks, DBS, UOB and OCBC. Where are we right now? I mean, the fact that we have seen strength coming back to the markets over the past few days. Many of these banks have rebounded, but where are we right now? Where can we potentially see selling? And maybe going to 2023 as well, could we actually have bottomed out? Are there some signs of strength or more bullishness coming next year as well? That's what we'll discover as well. So make sure you watch this video all the way to the end if you are looking to get in on any of these three banks, DBS, UOB, OCBC, or maybe you're holding on to it, you have no idea when to get out. I believe this video will be helpful to you as well. Let's go. Okay, so here is DBS trading at about $34.81, right? $34.81. So what happens was I talked about this resistance level, which is the $34, whereby we actually traded below since like July, August, September, about 3 to 4 months. We kind of like touched and went down, and the range was pretty much the $2 range, right? From 32, right? 32 to 34. You can see right here we went up, down, as we consolidated sideways from 32 to 34, and a couple of touches near 34, whereby we kind of like sold off as well. So this 34 will be what we call like a resistance level right here, right here, right here. And finally, I would say that, just about last week, we managed to break this 34 resistance level, which will now turn to be what we call a support level. So this, you can see that over the past like 1 week plus, we have kind of like traded down a little bit to near 34 and kind of rebounded. Buyers started to come back and bargain hunt on dips, and we are still holding above that $34, right? So it's the fact that right now, this 34 we have turned from a resistance to support, and so far this is still holding, right? So the range right now would be somewhere around 34 to 35. I think that over the past like 1 week as we neared that 35. In fact, I think today the high was about $35. So yeah, I kind of like touched 35 and came back down. So a lot of sellers are stacked at 35. You can check it out from the market depth as well. But a lot of sellers are stacked there. So I think that's where we can potentially see some profit taking happening again. But the key here is this. I think there are some signs of the trend kind of like turning up. You can see that in terms of the moving averages. This green line, it was pretty much like flat. Look at this, right? It was consolidating from 32 to 34. Let me just draw it for you again. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And finally, boom, it broke here. All right, so as it consolidated from 32 to 34, you can see that this green line is kind of like flattening out, up a little bit, flatten a little bit. All right, so it's like pretty much moving flat, right, sideways, which just shows that we are in a short-term consolidation at $2 range. All right, of course, this 32, we were actually trading below it as well, and in July, right, and when we broke the 32, this 32 became from a resistance to a support. Same thing like what is happening now for 34, which become from a resistance to a support. So that is the range, about 34 to 35, a $1 range. And as I say, right, if we can break this $35, we can break the $35. I think that's where it could potentially offer more upside in terms of the uptrend continuing all the way up maybe to that 37 to 37.50 as we kind of like push up and rebound back to our previous high to retest those resistance level again, like what we see over here. Let me just draw it for you. This was somewhere in March, we've got a peak. Somewhere in February as well, we've got a peak somewhere around 37.50. So this is where we can kind of like potentially head to before some profit taking can come back again, right? So just watch this level. I think 35 would be a really key resistance. If you can break that level on some really good price actions, that's where more upside can actually happen as we go into 2023 as well. So it could look a little bit more bullish, I would say, that in terms of a bottom being found, right? Most people are looking at whether it's like a bottom. I would say that for DBS, there could potentially be a bottom because you can see right here in terms of the 20 days moving average, we kind of like traded lower here below that 32, and when we want to find a bottom, we want to see prices kind of like pushing up and moving to a next higher phase rather than just consolidating and like pushing down and consolidating and like pushing down again. That's what we call like a downtrend. But in this case for DBS, you can see that we kind of like found a little bit of bottom here near 30. 30 was a psychological level. You can see right over here. All right, supported well, and we kind of like found some support back to where we were supported since last year. All right, and kind of like consolidated a little bit, and finally, as I say, we want to get back above that resistance, which would be that 32, and we did get above 32 and consolidate above 32 before pushing above 34 right now. So that's a sign of bottoming out as well. So let's see what it says on my 1GT system as well. One good trend, whereby we had a couple of bearish and even bullish signals that have came out as well, right? So not too far away, I think somewhere around like April, May, when the market was selling down, we got a couple of bearish signals coming out. Look at this right here, red arrow down, just sold off from like 35 all the way down to 30, found a bit of support. We got another bullish signal, it went back up, and this is pretty much where we were over the past 2-3 months. You can see that the bar has turned from red to green in color, so a bit of an uptrend kind of like taking place. As I mentioned, we could potentially have bottom near that 30, 29, 50 level, all right, so we push to a new higher phase, all right, and then I can see that this trend has turned up as well, and a new bullish signal. So this green arrow up, new bullish signals coming out, and I would say that the most recently right here on the 28th of October, we got this new bullish signal coming out. There's no exits yet, as you can see right here. So yeah, if we can break that $35, I think potentially we might push even higher to 36, 37.50, as I mentioned, and that's where this bullish signal can still continue to play out. All right, and we see when the exit will actually come out, can guide us to get out and take some profit as well. So let's move on to the next bank, which would be UOB. All right, so guys, if you like this video, I appreciate if you can give me an early thumbs up. That would really help out the channel, and of course smash the subscribe button as well. Click on the link below. All right, smash the subscribe button so that you will not miss out on any videos like this as well. All right, that will really help out the channel. All right, thank you so much. All right, so let's move on to the next bank, which would be UOB right here, trading at about $29.08, right? $29.08 right here. You can see that this is where we are right now, and we are facing a little bit of resistance at about the $30 level. But before I get into that, let's take a look at where we were over the past few months. You can see that when we covered this video a few months back as well, I mean the banks, right, we found some really good support at that 26. In fact, $26 was a level which I mentioned that, if it does hit there, it consolidates, you find a bit of stability, a bit of support there, you can potentially think about getting in on dips, because we have kind of rebounded from there a couple of times. Look at this right here, 1, 2, 3, we stayed above all this while for like about 1 month in October, and finally, all right, we saw quite good push, right, above that 26. I mean, rebounding and pushing away from 26, pushing up to that 28 level, right? So 28 was a really good resistance level, whereby I kind of expected a bit of profit taking. It might actually retrace back down from there, like what we have seen as well. Look at this right here. So 28 was like a support level. It was a resistance level. You can see it kind of like coincides really nicely over the past year. All right, what we call the support turn resistance, and when we broke down this support, you can see started to trade down, went back up, retested, but came back down, touched, came back down. So a couple of touches near 28, and it actually came back down. So just like last week, as we approach this 28, it could actually retrace back down again. I mean, like what we've seen over the past like 6 to 8 months, but we managed to break. We saw some really good price action right here, good bullish candle, and the upside actually started. So right now, we say that this $26 would turn to be what we call a support level, and with prices holding above that 36, something like your DBS, right, it was consolidating from 32 to 34, and it broke that 34 and pushed higher. Same thing, right, it was consolidating. I mean, like for UOB, 26 to 28, and now that we have gone above 28, it is at a much higher phase for the uptrend to continue further, right? But doesn't mean it just push up and up and up. Right? What happens is it might just push up, a bit of profit taking, it might come back down a little bit, but as long as this resistance turn to be what we call a support, that means this 28 has turned to be a resistance to become like a support level right here as we consolidate. All right, that could be a good thing of it bottoming out as well in terms of the trend starting to come back to turn to an uptrend. We might potentially push higher as well. So the range for UOB would be this, right, 28 to 30, right, a $2 range, and resistance wise, I think quite clearly somewhere around $30. That's where it is a psychological level. We kind of broke down, a couple of touches, came back down. So $30 will be a psychological level as well. And of course, we definitely want to break this $30 level for the upwards direction of the uptrend to actually continue further, maybe towards the 32 to 33 level, right? So this is UOB right here. It looks quite good in the short term. As I mentioned, we did manage to break 28, so it looks quite good in the short term. There are some signs of it reversing back up right now, as long as we stay above that $28 level. Okay, quick one. UOB on my 1GT system, we had a couple of bearish signals, but some bullish signals came out over the past few weeks. Let's take a look at it. But this was in May. Look at this right here, May, June. A bearish signal started to trade down from like 29 all the way to like 25, 50 consolidated, find a bit of support, a new bullish signal consolidated, and a couple of like bearish signals came out as well somewhere around here as we were kind of like trading above that $26 support. But let's zoom into where we are over the past 1-2 weeks. You can see that we got this new bullish signal coming out on the 28th of October, same thing like when DBS started to rebound. I think the banks also started to see some good strength. So we got this bullish signal coming out 28th of October, and over the next few days we started to see strength coming as it pushed up all the way to where we are right now, just below that $30 psychological level. So we have this bullish signal that came out, started to push up. There are still no exits yet for this bullish signal, so it still looks quite bullish, and you can see that the trend bar has turned from red in color. It was pretty much red as it kind of like traded lower, right? But the trend bar has turned from red to green in color finally, right, with this bullish signal still playing out. So as I mentioned, right, if you can break that $30 psychological level, it can be a good thing, but we can also kind of like consolidate in this $2 range from 28 to 30, up down for a couple of weeks, maybe 1-2 months before we attempt to break 30 to push higher. But in any case, if we break 30, I think this bullish signal can still continue to play out. We might still push higher all the way to like 31, 32, like right around here. Maybe 33 would be the previous resistance level right over here somewhere in February, March. We're right around there, 33. I think this is where some profit taking can actually come back again. The third bank, OCBC, trading at about $12.27 right here. You can see that it looks a little bit different for OCBC. We have been finding a really good support. It has not really gone down that much. So nothing really much to reverse up because it's been pretty much moving sideways, I would say, over the past 1 to 2 years. You can see this is the range right here from about $11, right? $11 all the way to about that $12.50. I've talked about this range in my previous video as well for the bank. So $11 to $12.50, you can see as it moves up and down since last year, January, since 2021, and that was pretty much that $1.50 range. So over the past few weeks, we just kind of like traded down to near $11.50, and I kind of like mentioned that as you approach that 11 to $11.50, of course I'm not too sure exactly whether is it like 11.20 or 30 or 11.35. I'm not too sure, but I know that as you approach near the 11 to 11.50, right, that's where some bargain hunting can come back again. That's where you want to position yourself to kind of catch the rebound, like what we've seen many times. As it trades to this level, it rebounds. In fact, just I think last week we traded to near 11.50, and we saw the rebound coming back as well. So that's what can happen, right? So we might actually hit to a bit of resistance, might pull back again, and that's where you can position yourself to get in to catch the rebound. Right, but what about if you have got in and now you're sitting on some profits? Where should you actually think about getting out? Or maybe you want to just wait and see if you can push a little bit higher, right? So what would be that key level to watch? I think that key level will be this level. I think, as I mentioned, that resistance is $12.50. We have touched it many times. Look at this right here since last year, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, many times since last year, and each time we touch it, we neared it, and sellers comes back and we push back down. So that's the key level to watch. I think if you approach there near $12.50, maybe near $12.30 something, 35, $12.40 something, 45, 42, 44, around $12.50, right? That's where some profit taking can come back. So if you're not so greedy, you want to lock in some profits first, put in your pocket, I think that's fine as well. You can kind of like reduce some exposure, maybe take partial profit and leave the rest to see if you can break this $12.50 level as well. So I'm not saying that you will kind of like touch and come back down for sure. I mean, even though you've done that like 7 or 8 times, but does not mean that you cannot break this time, right? So there's a possibility that you break, but nobody knows exactly when. So if you're afraid that you can kind of like break the $12.50 and push higher, well, you can take some profit, hold a little bit of positions left in case it breaks. You're lucky, and that's where you can push higher and you can make even more profits. Does it make sense? But nobody knows exactly when, right? So you can do that, right? What can happen is that you can kind of wait for some bullish actions, right, or kind of for it to break the $12.50 on some really strong volume, a bullish candlestick bar, and that's where targets can be revised higher from $12.50 all the way to maybe that $13.50 level, which was pretty much the high that we've seen somewhere in February, right? February 2022, there was a high and kind of like sold off. So that could be kind of like the next resistance whereby some profit taking or selling can actually come back again, right? But as I said, before we hit to $13.50, the $12.50 would be a key level to watch right now. Okay, OCBC of my 1GT systems. As I mentioned, right, we have been trading in this range from $11 to $12.50. So as it kind of like approach that support around $11, you can see that's where we had a couple of bullish signals coming back. It went up, got an exit, it came back down. And recently we've got a bearish signal somewhere here as well. It broke 12, went back down, and right over here we got a new bullish signal coming out as well. It started to push up. As I mentioned, as it push up, we are now back to that 1250 resistance. We are still consolidating below it. All right, so yeah, that's where we can see some profit taking as well. So there are still no exits, as you can see from this bullish signal, but if you do see an exit, that's where you can also guide you to kind of like take some profit, get up, because that's where we are actually seeing some selling coming back. Alright, so there we have it, guys. We have covered the 3 Singapore banks, DBS, UOB, and finally OCBC. So I hope you have a clearer idea of where we are right now for each of them. What are some of the key levels, the resistance, or maybe even the support levels that you want to take note of, and have we come like bottom out? Are there some signs of the trend turning from like down to up, or maybe going to 2023? What is the outlook? I hope I've given you a bit of an idea on this as well. So I hope you like this video, guys. If you do, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. That will really help out the channel, and thank you so much for doing this. So Joey here, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to see you in the next video.